The views and opinions expressed by the guest author or speaker during this live session are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reader's Magnet. The content shared is for informational purposes only and does not constitute endorsement or promotion of any particular belief, ideology, or product.
Yes, hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another session here in Reader's Magnet's featured author interview. My name is Leah, and I will be your host for today. And with me is one of the Reader's Magnet's featured author. And today, she will be sharing to us what this book is all about, her as an author, and of course, what's her journey behind creating this book. So, yes, everyone, let's all welcome our one and only Dr. Linsey Willis, author of the book Be There, my lived experience with my sister's bipolar disorder. Yes, hi, Dr. Willis. It's good to see you. And we are very happy and honored that you've given Reader's Magnet the chance to be with you today. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you, Leah. How are you doing?
Wow, that's good to hear. I'm doing great as well, Dr. Willis. Thank you so much. And yes, I am very excited to have this interview session with you because I believe that it talks about your own experience. So yeah, we'll get to know more about that later on. And before we go over, more information about your book, Dr. Willis, of course, we would like to know who Dr. Linsey Willis is. So yes, a little bit of self-introduction, please.
Well, I've been working for 45 years, and I own a management and organizational consulting firm, and I specialize in three different areas. Expert witness work for personal injury and employment law attorneys in specialized areas, law enforcement
Wow.
coaching for promotional testing to help police people get promoted around the United States, and then leadership development workshops. That's the last 25 or 26 years of my career, and then retired from the Florida Atlantic University about 2 years ago. I was faculty at the College of Business Management department, and they hired me there just because of my business. So that's basically who I am. I love what I do.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Dr. Willis. Yes, and I can see that it really shows, that you really love what you're doing, especially when it comes to advocating for a specific cause and agenda. And wow, you're amazing. Thank you. And we are very honored, Dr. Willis, to be given this chance to talk to you right now, to have this session with you. Thank you. So, yes, about your book. Be There, my lived experience with my sister's bipolar disorder. So, yeah, will you tell us what this book is all about?
It's a memoir of my sister's life and my life intertwined with her life, and I tried to cover as much of her life as I could without missing out on the gory details, if you want to call them that, of her bipolar disorder and the characteristics and behaviors. So it's a very interesting type of a book, because it's not just about my sister's stories about my sister and me, but it has family archives and genetic information and statistics and self-help sections, and so it gives the reader a lot to unpack, so to speak. And
Wow, that's amazing.
people who've read it love the book, and I'm very happy about that, although it's a small number so far.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that, Dr. Willis. So this is really a, poignant memoir chronicling the lifelong caregiving journey or taking care journey of you, of your sister, of your sibling. Can you tell us what's the name of your sister?
Her name was Betsy. Her maiden name was Betsy Ann
Betsy.
Craig. Betsy, yes.
Okay. Wow, I like that. Sure. Go ahead, Dr. Willis.
Yeah, that Betsy. The long version of her name is Elizabeth, but we called her Betsy. Betsy Ann Craig.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Willis. So this book, just like what you mentioned earlier, it highlights the challenges or the realities of living with a loved one who has this kind of disorder, while at the same time emphasizing that family members cannot control or cure it, but can learn to cope with it. since there are a lot of values and learnings that you can take out of this book. And when, wow, that's amazing, that's amazing. Now, you mentioned earlier, Dr. Willis, that yes, again, this is your own experience. Now, can you tell us what was the most difficult aspect of writing your book, especially that, let's say there must be some emotional triggers because it's bringing you um it brings back a lot of memories from the past and how you took care of Betsy, from the very beginning. What was the most difficult aspect of writing, of your whole writing process?
uh, Reorganizing the table of contents and what I was going to cover, because I started writing this book, well over 35 years ago, and then put it down for 20 years, but saved it. So then I had to
Mm,
reorganize it and then decide exactly what else I was going to add to the book. So that was
mm-hmm.
difficult. And then I had it in my head, and then what sections am I going to put in there, and in what order?
In
And
what
then,
order?
yeah, and then the last two chapters was the very end. So that was difficult, doing that, and also I think the other most difficult was the title of the book, because I had come up with so many different titles
Mhm,
many, many years ago. And then as I mentioned, I believe in the book somewhere,
mhm.
I had an aha moment. I'm writing and I'm rereading what I wrote, and I noticed that I wrote several times, "Be there, I was there for her." Well, it hit me. Be there. My lived experience with my sister's bipolar disorder. The headline is "Be there," and people like
Mhm.
short titles. They don't like long titles. It's a catchy, I
Right.
think, very
Right. And
catchy because
it is catchy, and at the same time, that word "be there," I must say, Dr. Willis, is something that's very priceless. Because you cannot really guarantee if someone would be there for you, but this one is really a strong word to be with to be with someone, to be with our loved one who's in need for our, the love, the care, and support. And yes, I must say that your book title is really great. Yes.
yeah, and I've with
Now.
people that who are caring for their parents, and they have two
Mhm.
or three brothers and sisters who are doing nothing. And so if it weren't for them, there would nobody to be there for their parents except for one person, because the other siblings are in different states and are just not stepping up to the plate.
Mm, right. Wow, that's amazing. We're gonna know more about that. Now, also, thank you so much for that, Dr. Willis. Now, also on your writing process, Dr. Willis, what were the easiest aspects of or let's say most rewarding things about writing and finishing this book, especially right now that you've gathered a lot of positive feedback, good reviews from the readers who read your book. You've been getting a lot of positive feedback coming from them. What was the most rewarding things about writing and finishing this book?
Well, just knowing that I'd finished it to the best of my ability and had edited it myself 5 times and had two colleagues who've written a lot, edited and journal articles and what have you, and just knowing that, okay, then the publisher will do final, that it's done. And I just can't put any more in there, and I finally finished it. And
Mm-hmm.
the people who, two close friends who were the first editors, they said, "This is a really great read. This is, just the way you
That's
laid
nice.
out the book. It's just, there's so much. You can read you can read chapters separately, but you can just learn so much." And it was just rewarding that I believe it's going to make a
Mm-hmm.
difference, but we've got to get thousands, if not millions of people to read it, because the idea is, the main point is to help people.
Right. Well, I
And
like that. I like that. I
I
like
like
that, Dr. Willis.
to
Exactly. Especially, just like what. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
more, we're interrupting each other, not rudely, to memorialize my sister's life, and to,
Mm-hmm.
let everybody know that just because someone's got a mental illness doesn't mean they're not a worthwhile person.
Right. Well, I agree on that, Dr. Willis. And just like what we mentioned earlier, this is not just about you sharing your own experience, but at the same time, this is really something that's advocating for a specific cause and agenda. I must say that the most rewarding aspect that you have done for this book is really included the ability to reflect deeply on the personal experience with Betsy, which allowed, let's say, for a better understanding, especially to someone who's also facing this same situation, and not only for yourself but also for other, let's say, someone out there who's also has the same experience, which is, let's say, caregiver, who may feel isolated in their struggles, but really crafting our story or your story together through heartfelt anecdotes, and at the same time it is really incorporating and inspiring letters brought to your journey, in life, which really led you to have this, let's say, creating a powerful connection with the readers at the same time, who might also share again the similar challenges. Additionally, I must say, Dr. Will, is that weaving in scientific insights enrich the narratives, providing context and validation for the experience, ultimately enhancing this book of yours, or this memoir, impact as a resource for understanding, understanding and coping with mental illness in the family, and how you are going to deal with it, right? Well, and that's amazing. You really did great job on this book, Dr. Willis. Now, also, Dr. Willis, before we end our session, I'd like to really highlight this question. Other than what was covered in your book, what advice would you give to people suffering, bipolar disorder, who have no, let's say, resources or help from their family or friends? Is there any advices for that?
Well, a woman, I found on the internet, a woman posted something on a site that I can't remember what it was, but she was suffering from bipolar, and she happened to find the book, and she thought it was really a great book, and it gave her insight to the fact that she had caused so much pain and suffering for her family, and that she said that she wants her family to read it, and she's sorry for all that. And that was just that really made my day, because I realized that I impacted somebody's life. And
Mm-hmm.
so the other advice I would give to people is to, never give up, always be there for the person, no matter what happens. You're going through this terrible tragedy, this just traumatic situation with the individual, and you just can just say, I'm going to throw in the towel. I'm done. I don't even want to see the person anymore. I cut my sister off a few times for a few months, but you just can't throw them out. You can cut off for a while, to get away from it, but don't ever discard them. They're human beings, and just know that, they're
Mm-hmm.
suffering terribly, and their suffering is causing you to suffer terribly. But don't just discard them and say, I'm done with them. They're on their own. The world is a tough place. To imagine being on your own in the world with nobody, and you're mentally ill. Just think about it. And you have no resources, no family members.
Mm-hmm.
Help them financially if you can, is the best of your ability.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know,
Well, thank you so much for that, Dr. Willis. Yeah, and at the same time, for individuals with bipolar disorder, let's say facing a lack or of support from family or friends, it is really crucial to, seek professional help, even if resources is limited are limited. I must say, no. Maybe they can consider reaching out to the local mental health organizations,
yes.
community health clinics, at the same time really establishing a routine to help manage mood swings, incorporate mindfulness practices like, let's say, meditation or journaling. There's already a lot of things that you can really do, or to help, to have and maintain a healthy lifestyle through do things that you can do, diet and exercise, provide a sense of community or understanding. And this is really important for the people to know, to have the self advocacy and persistence in seeking help, that is really essential in managing the condition, right?
But
Wow.
also, if the medication that you've been prescribed, if of course you're lucky
Mm-hmm.
enough to be able to get the medication, if you have some type
Mm-hmm.
of insurance, um, stay on if the medication is making you feel better, stay on the medication. Don't just say, okay, I've read so much about this. Oh, I'm feeling great today, so I'm going to throw this medication out. I don't need it. And then they go through the cycle again, and then they, and they have to start over again. And like my sister did, whenever she knew she was out of control, she would go to a psychiatric hospital. But that's where she got her help. It's a vicious cycle, but it's, if you stay on your meds, you can become more stable, which she did for many years because she stayed on meds. The medication was tightly controlled, and even though her life is tragic, the last 15 years of her life were better. Before she got the illness, of course, her life is wonderful, but persevere. Don't give up.
Don't give up. I like that. Thank you, Dr. Willis. Now, Dr. Willis, before we end our session, is there any message that you'd like to, say to our viewers out there about your book? And here, you know what? I don't want you to just focus about someone who has this bipolar disorder, but at the same time, I wanted you to also be proud of yourself, Dr. Willis, because you know what? As a caregiver or as someone who's taking care of someone who's facing this kind of illness, you can really take pride in your ability to really provide that, compassionate support, improve the quality of life for those in your care, and at the same time building really a meaningful relationship, demonstrating their resilience in challenging situations, and at the same time they advocate for the needs and rights of your loved ones. You did really highlight that in this book, Dr. Willis. Your dedication positively impacts their well-being as well, and it really brings comfort to families out there. So everyone, I must say that everyone should have this kind of book, because again, we don't know what's ahead of us. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, especially families out there that's who has a kid, because depression is everywhere. Mental illness could happen, in unexpected ways. So this is really something that family members, or that all family members should have as a guide to really have this knowledge, to thorough understanding on someone who's facing this kind of disorder. And you know what? Personally, Dr. Willis, I'm gonna say thank you so much. Thank you so much for creating this book. Right, Dewey, thank you so much for that. Yeah, and again, is there any message that you'd like to say to our viewers?
A few final comments. I was at the wonderful Los Angeles Times Book Fair this weekend, and
wow, thank you.
Just about everybody that came to the booth, and we kind of called them out, and they saw the picture. They were suffering from mental illness, and when I was signing the book for them, and I also gave away a lot of free copies, is what can we do for you? Pay it forward, pass on the word, get the word out there for this book. The book is going to come out in audio, which will be more affordable. Pay it forward, spread the word, share this book with other people. It will help. Right. They can read the book, and they'll have the book, and they'll have those 3 chapters of how to cope. And that's all I can say. But thank you for a wonderful book fair. And
wow, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Willis. We really appreciate it. And again, really, thank you so much for taking us with this journey. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And yes, for our viewers out there, the book of Dr. Willis is available on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. So if you wanted to grab a copy of her book, just go directly to this platform. Again, that's in Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. And again, Dr. Willis, thank you so much for gracing with us today. So yes, everyone, this is our author, Dr. Linsey Willis, author of the book, Be There, My Lived Experience with My Sister's Bipolar Disorder. And again, Dr. Willis, thank you so much. And as we say it here in Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.